Andy Raskin, thank you for doing this.
Oh, man, my pleasure.
You're one of my favorite people, which I tell you a lot. So
Likewise.
Don't let it go to your head.
Which I tell you a lot. Don't let it go to your head.
Okay, so we have the great honor of hanging out with you at SaaStr. We have not gotten kicked out. Despite us being outside, we have not gotten kicked out of this place. So I thought of like, what can we talk to Andy about? And I think you have this superpower, which is the ability to get companies to tell a story that doesn't sound like corporate jargon, BS, what most B2B companies sound like. And I think I first started to hear of you when you did this, the greatest sales deck ever.
The post about Zuora.
The post about Zuora.
Yeah.
Did you notice an inflection point in people asking you for stuff after that?
Yeah, so there was a post I did about a year before that was about Elon Musk. That was it was called "Want a Better Pitch? Watch This." It was about his keynote for the Powerwall, where I first kind of started talking about this kind of structuring the pitch and starting to talk about doing it almost like a movie and how the similarities there. That one kind of really kick-started my consulting business. But yes, the Zuora one, that's gotten around 2 million views now around the world.
Holy cow.
Yeah, companies around the world, I've been totally privileged to work with them on how the leadership team tells a story.
Yeah. And then the following year, you did another one. You did an update. It was like what was the drift one?
That was about drift. So yeah, that was the greatest sales pitch I've seen this year. I think it was.
Okay, so Zuora was ever. We were this year.
Well, I could, I couldn't like go retroactively back to ever, and then still have that, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I don't want to talk about us. I don't. What I want to talk about though is you told me that you will be nice enough to share the thing that you usually only share with CEOs, CMOs, which is you have a recipe for telling these stories, which I think if you're a marketer watching this, you'd be crazy to not like literally print out Andy's framework. And so, if you read the Zuora stuff, if you read the one you wrote about Drift, and you kind of read any of your other stuff, there's kind of like maybe 4 or 5 key ingredients. So you told me you do remember them, so that's good. So I want to talk through them and just kind of give people, because I'm obsessed with this is for our marketing show, and I'm obsessed with having like frameworks. I don't think you can framework everything, but as far as like telling a story. So for example, I stole one from Steve Jobs that I use for all of our decks and landing pages, and it's like, it's 5 steps. It's like tell a story, pose a problem, blah blah blah, and that's been super helpful. But I like yours a little bit better, and I want to go through the steps.
Cool. Yeah. So well, first of all, you said it's a marketing thing, and the first thing I would say is, you're so lucky because you have this CEO who, like, I think David Cancel sees the story as his job.
Totally agree. And which is fun to think about. If you go back and rewind any of the companies that have been great at this, Salesforce, Benioff, Apple, Steve Jobs, Amazon, Bezos, Tesla, Elon Musk, right? All those CEOs do care that much about storytelling.
Yeah, and marketing, of course, is going to be the storytelling kind of center of excellence, that you're going to tell the story. But in all the engagements I do, I really learned like it has to be at the CEO level. If marketing just kind of takes this on as the project, like, oh, we're going to create the story, and then pushes that into sales, it's not going to work as well.
And just from the inside part of this, like I can tell you that Dave, I have not worked with any of those other guys, but from David's perspective, he is maniacal about, you might think right now we have a good story, but I can tell you that he's texting me at 8:00 yesterday saying, we need to work this in. We need to rev on this. And so he's always like, and I had a meeting with the CMO of ServiceNow yesterday, and I sent David a video after because he said something in that conversation. He said, you and me, we got to rev on this. We got to work on this. And so it is always something he's thinking about. I know that.
Yeah, and I think the greatest CEOs who think about this story, they have the basic story that they're telling all the time, but, it's never final. It's like sort of always evolving a little bit. The framework that you talked about, and like you said, it's just a framework. It's just some principles. Like, it's not a template.
No, the framework alone will not make you great.
Yeah. The thing that happens a lot is people say, I tried that Zuora thing and didn't work.
Andy, you suck.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So then they'll send it to me, and what it turns out, they've actually just sort of pasted their own logo into the Zuora slides and like change and literally like paste it over a few words.
Like we believe in
So-
the subscription economy.
It-
You make
because, like,
bicycles. What are you talking
they
about?
have maybe a different economy, but that's not every team that I work with. We kind of start with that kind of rough structure, but it never exactly works. We always have to kind of massage it into whatever is really going on for them. But the structure is really the first thing is starting with this undeniable, relevant, kind of newish change in the world. And this is essentially the same thing as what the Play Bigger folks are talking about. It's this point of view on what has changed.
I'm glad you mentioned them because you should go read the book Play Bigger, because they go and break down basically all the the big companies in the last 20 years, very successful IPOs, all have this one thread in common, is that they've created a category. And by definition, you can't really have a category, we can't be creating a category about like these podcast mic covers, right? It's got to be something that has that big emotional story. And so I love your thing because it immediately starts with not a feature, not a product, but a, hey, look, this undeniable thing is happening in the world. Do you agree? Yes. Okay, next, right?
And you agree, you're with us. You don't agree, you think the world is not changing that way. Okay, we'll see in a couple of years, right? The next step is, and this is, I think, the thing that a lot of teams skip. It's the thing that a lot of storytellers skip, is laying out the stakes. So,
Oh yeah, I forgot about this one.
So it's, because of this change, why, if you stick to the status quo, are you kind of on the road to ruin?
I think it's in your article, but I think I have it somewhere in Evernote. It's like there will be winners and there will be losers, and you have to show the real pain of like, not only can you agree that this shift is happening, but you're going to miss the boat, and here's what happens if you do.
And not only that you're going to, but that it's already, if possible, like it's already happening. Like already, the winners are adapting, and and if you don't adapt, like you're on the road to losing. One of my favorite, like our sort of national treasure storyteller, Ira Glass, This American Life.
Yeah.
This is one of his big things. We get a lot of great, I'm paraphrasing him, but we get a lot of great pitches for stories, but the good ones have to lay out the stakes. There's actually one of their famous episodes is about, they spend like an hour in a car dealership, and they lay out the stakes for these car salesmen. Like what's at stake if they don't make their quota. And it's so big that you actually feel really sorry for these salespeople, which is like probably the most incredible storytelling feat that I've ever seen.
Yeah, you go and you hear from the person who's gonna miss a paycheck and their family's not gonna whatever, right? And you're like, oh man, I feel that.
Yeah, I guess, and it turns out like a lot is riding on not the profit on each car, but hitting some big quota for the whole dealership, and then like some big payment is at stake, and then people's livelihood and their kids' education.
All right, so undeniable change, winners and losers.
Yeah, and then so now we have their attention. They sort of see the stakes, and now the next thing they want to know is, well, what's it going to take to win? What does it take to be one of these winners? And all of this has a real analog in movie structure. That's kind of where I learned about all this stuff. I was pitching a company and it was going really badly until I sort of found this screenwriting book.
Cool.
And you think about all the great movies. Star Wars, of course, is a good one because a lot of people have seen it. They lay out very early kind of what is this state that the hero has to get to, that Obi-Wan is basically committing to help him get to. In that movie it's destroying the Death Star. In other movies it's something else. And can you do what I call is sort of like tease the promised land, meaning like give a glimpse of it. And this functions as both a kind of goal state for the customer, but also a commitment from the company, like this is what we're going to get you to. In this way, I really see this as the mission statement, but it's the mission statement from the customer's point of view versus some kind of self-centered thing.
There's another good one.
I'm really cold, by the way.
I'm
That's why
cold.
shaking.
I'm cold.
I'm
I'm
not
cold.
nervous,
This is
but
not.
I'm
No,
kinda
no. It's
shaking.
okay. I'm
Yeah,
cold
good.
too. I'm
Okay.
cold too. We're doing good. This is good. We want to. The challenge of a great storyteller is we want to put you in circumstances that you're not used to, and can
You've
you
done
come
it.
and
You've
still
done
say?
it. You've done it.
I was gonna say I learned a great lesson from Aaron Sorkin, not personally, but from Masterclass, which is amazing. He does a class on screenwriting, and he said something really simple, which is so powerful, which is every great movie, every great story has intentions and obstacles, right?
Yes.
And so I want to go home tonight, but the car's broken down and I can't. And I want to get there because blah. And you set that up front, and so I know where this story's going to go.
And that's a great segue to the next piece of
Okay.
the framework, because most companies, they start out with what is the problem? What is the problem? What is the solution? This is a kind of metaphor. The company is the problem solver. In sales, like traditional sales culture, it's the doctor, doctor-patient.
Sorry, I had to
It's
pull
the
Andy's
doctor.
mic closer. He's melting away.
It's you get this, we're going to look for pains.
Yes.
And here's how we're going to relieve the pains. Marketing's job is to arm the sales team with a list of pains. But if you start there, if that's the starting point, then we don't really understand why this is, what this means, what the stakes are. And then what happens is you get this thing where only the people who really have the problem really care about it. So you sort of get pushed down very low in the org. When you start this other way with the promised land, and as you said, now you talk about, well, okay, if that's where we want to get to, destroying the Death Star, just having conversations with people,
Right.
then what's stopping you from doing that? What's in your way?
Yeah.
And there's probably going to be a lot of big things in the way, because this promised land should be pretty hard to get to.
I think that's such a valuable exercise, though, as a marketer or storyteller or whatever, salesperson, is to actually go through and lay out all the objections somebody's going to have, right? Like they have to destroy the Death Star. What are all the things that could happen along the way? And then actually make those part of your story, because then you can be like, I know you're probably thinking they're going to do blah. Well, they don't. They actually do this. And you handle all the objections up front.
It's objections, and it's also sort of like challenges they're going to have that you're anticipating, like what's going to be hard for them. Because it's easy, they don't need you.
Yep.
But yeah, so positioning these things as obstacles to a goal versus just sort of disembodied problems.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. That's 4.
And then the last piece is, well, even if we've done this really well, then the the prospect should still be kind of skeptical, because this promised land, we've set it up to be, really aspirational, hopefully, but also really hard to reach.
It's the freaking Death Star. How are you going to have these, 3-4
Really?
people destroy it?
Really?
Right?
Me as a sort of lame teenager is going to destroy that Death Star. Me as a, marketer who's sitting behind forms, I'm going to just have a conversation.
Totally.
How's that going to happen?
Totally.
I look at ones like, Airbnb. A lot of people call this the tagline, but I like to call it the promised land message. Live there. Really? I'm going to live in the place rather than be in a hotel.
House.
Right. And so we need to give them some evidence that we can make the story come true. And so that's the things like, well, Jobs was great at the product demo. Hey, here's you can't get the phone yet, but here's what your life is going to be like. He'd call the Japanese restaurant just by, moving his fingers around, which was pretty cool back in the day. But of course, the best evidence is stories about customers you've already gotten to the promised land, or at least kind of on the way. So those are testimonials and what go by the horrible name case studies, but stories about that.
Proof. Yeah, you need proof, because
Proof.
I think that it sounds funny, because for marketers have always needed, ask any salesperson, they need more case studies, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's more important than ever today because of what you talk about a lot, like the whole reality TV thing that we do. The reason why that matters is because I think marketers have the hardest. We're entering the hardest decade, I think, for marketers, because even if you're so good at what you said, undeniable change, here's the problem, here's the solution, right? People are still like, I don't believe you. We are all so more skeptical than ever today.
Yeah.
Every sales rep is going to tell me their thing is faster, it's better, it's easier to use, it's whatever, even if it's true, which sucks for them because they're not going to ever convince me. And so you do have to have some facts to back it up.
Yeah. But what I love, especially what you do, and I think I've seen some others, it's like most companies are selling a solution and they're giving evidence of the solution, like evidence that we are the best. And what this framework is really about, and I think what I see you guys doing, is it's more about you're selling belonging to this group of believers who believe in the story you're telling. And the proof is, of course, you're always talking about how folks are using Drift, but it's a lot of it is about the proof of, thriving and winning in the world of conversational marketing.
And I think I'm just obsessed with finding examples that are like somewhat related to us outside.
Yeah.
Every day I walk home from work and there's a Bank of America right there, and the big window of Bank of America positions their app now as a 24/7 banking assistant, right?
Yeah.
Or I use the Lyft example all the time. It's like after this I'm gonna go back and we're gonna get lunch and I'm gonna pull up Lyft on my phone and they're gonna scan the area for a driver near me and find someone for a ride. Why can't that happen on your website? That has nothing to do with Drift, but it's like these related stories that get people to see.
Right.
And that's a story that I can take to a room of non-marketers. I can take to my family at Thanksgiving and say, you know what? Don't you hate how when you go to a website and you do blank? Well, we're solving this problem.
Yeah.
My mom doesn't care about conversational marketing and sales tactics and that, but she knows the problem of like, I hate going to somebody's website and freaking waiting.
Yeah. This really gets to, it's not just that, it's everything you do, that thing where you're doing videos while you're, walking and drinking your greens. It's that whole authenticity message. Of course, it stands alone, but it also is very connected, I think, to the Drift story. So everything you're doing is really goes back to that change in the world that you believe in, and that the whole company is kind of.
What would you
around.
do before we wrap up? Because I'm freezing too. What would you do if you're a company and you're a little bit newer, newer company, newer startup, whatever, and you don't have all those case studies? Can you still do this in a compelling way without the facts yet?
Yeah. So first of all, it's a wake-up call to say, hey, we let's do some kind of beta. Let's do something like what that it's really important. Can we get something like that? I run a lot of workshops where early stage founders will come and they'll often ask this question, and so that's one of the things I say. But what's the best we can show them? Like, do we have maybe product demo is all we can do at this point?
Or a quote from somebody saying, "This would be amazing if I blah."
Yeah, which is not great, but maybe that's the best they can do.
All right, let's hit him with the recap if you can remember off the top of your head. Number 1 is state a big undeniable change happening in the world. Number 2 is show that there will be winners and losers. Stakes. Number 3, what's number 3?
Tease the promised land.
Tease the promised land. Show them the path to the future. Number 4.
Summarize the obstacles and show how you can help overcome them.
What he said. And then the 5th one is proof. Show examples. So awesome. Andy, I can't get enough of the stuff you write. So if you're watching this and you're not listening or reading Andy's stuff, go and check him out. A Raskin on Twitter, right?
A Raskin on Twitter.
Raskin on
that's
Twitter.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. Or connect on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's hot.
That's where I'm always posting stuff. Yeah, I heard you post some stuff over there too.
I dabble. All right, Andy, thank you for doing it. See ya.